Chargers go.
All right, welcome to another episode of Bolt Talk with Marty and Christian. I'm your host, Martin Marine, my co-host, Christian Yanis. Christian, how are you today?
Man, I'm fired up. I mean, we try to do this episode so much times, but so much has happened in between the last episode and then this episode. Obviously, a big one. Keenan Allen is officially a Chicago Bear. I don't know if you saw him at the pro day. Caleb Williams, a little tampering going on there, but it's all love. He was geared up. But I think we should touch up on that a little bit. Obviously, sad news for all Charger fans. Very good news for the Chicago Bear fans. You know, they got an elite receiver, I would say top 10, maybe biased, but he's been on the field. The injury nonsense needs to go away. But definitely going to miss my guy, you know, the greatest Charger receiver ever to do it. You know, Allworth, sorry, take a back seat. But I think Keenan Allen, you know, he proved himself. And it's going to be sad watching him on another team, but definitely going to be rooting for my guy. That's for sure.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. Oh, you really came out firing today, man. Yeah. I love it. I love the energy. Totally agree. I mean, it's really sad to see Keenan go. But considering all the salary cap situation and all the challenges that were presented in that area, I mean, it was just time. We knew we weren't going to be able to keep all four of those guys. Additionally, Mike Williams signs with the Jets for $15 million for 1 year, just on a prove-it deal. Hopefully to play with Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Same kind of situation. If health is not an issue, both of those guys should really produce. So wishing them both the best. There's been some interesting things coming out about whether or not the team offered him an extension or a pay cut.
I did see that.
Initially, we thought it was just a pay cut. But then the team, Joe Ortiz specifically, basically put out a statement that they offered him multiple extensions and that he declined. Keenan's own agent actually went on Twitter and replied to that, said it was bogus. It was just one extension and overall would have been a pay cut. And then Keenan Allen's wife has just been going crazy. Crazy is not the right word, but has been all over Instagram defending her husband, probably rightfully so. She sees fit. But, you know, it's a very complicated situation. We're all very sad to see a legend go. But at the same time, you know, he gets to go to a pretty good spot, hopefully to play with Caleb Williams. As you said, tampering. I'm not sure if that's tampering just because he's a rookie and he hasn't signed a contract, and they're players. But no, it's funny to see them interact. And it kind of looked like Caleb was like ignoring Keenan. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that. Keenan was all hype. He tried giving him a hug and stuff. You know, and this is what Jalen Johnson said, you know, the Chicago Bear cornerback. He mentioned, like, hey, all that Hollywood stuff, that's out the window. Like, we're coming here. You got to prove yourself. But maybe it was a little chip on his shoulder right there.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. A lot of the criticism surrounding Caleb Williams has to do with, is he a tough guy? Is he mentally fit for the NFL? I don't think there's a question about his talent whatsoever. But with a lot of the off-field or extracurricular activities that he's up to, in my opinion, doesn't bother me too much. I mean, he cried when he lost the game. Yeah. To me, that's just passion. Maybe he can channel that a little bit differently. But no, I mean, you'd rather see a guy be emotional than not care at all. And then some of the finger painting things. I mean, I think that's like a statement for personality, like, mental health awareness or something like that. So I really have no issue with that. I think it's just a lot of old heads and boomers who are kind of upset and aren't used to quarterbacks acting that way. And in this case, you know, I think he's just really pushing the envelope forward, and it's a new generation, man. So I think it's totally acceptable, and as long as he produces on the field, it should be no issue whatsoever. But as it pertains to the Chargers, man, obviously we don't have any receivers on this team, really. We have Quentin Johnston, who was a big disappointment last year. Hopefully he can turn everything around. And then Josh Palmer under contract for only 1 more year. And then aside from that, just Darius Davis. So this team has some work to do. And it sounds like Joe Ortiz is ready to go. I think it's pretty safe to assume at this point that the Chargers are going receiver at 5.
100%.
Yeah, so hopefully we get Marvin Harrison Jr., but even if you miss out on him, I'm pretty sure we're guaranteed Malik Nabers. I think both of us would take that.
Yeah. I want to chime in on that.
Yeah.
I'm not lying. I think while evaluating both of these guys and kind of seeing their numbers and their play styles, I honestly think if Marvin Harrison's on the board, we take Nabers. That's my personal opinion. I know that's
wow.
That's
no, I've seen it.
Yeah, definitely that could raise some questions to some guys, but we already saw Joe Ortiz come out and say Malik Nabers is the best wide receiver prospect that he's ever scouted. That should already tell you their kind of mindset of how they see Nabers, but I think he fits our play style. And like we've talked about, man, this wide receiver group is stacked. We just gained another, what was it, a third or fourth? We just gained another fourth. So I think we have fourth round picks within 5 picks of each other, which gives us a lot of leverage with some of the guys that will still be on the board, right? So I personally think I take Nabers even if Marvin Harrison's on the board. I know that's going to raise some hairs.
So you went from, hold up, just to clarify.
Yeah.
So you went from having Rome Odunze as your number 1 receiver to now Malik Nabers. So you came around on that one?
I came around on that one. Sometimes it takes some time. Fair. It's like listening to an album for the first time. The second listen is always better, you know?
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little evaluation.
I definitely would still take Marvin Harrison Jr. just because when you watch those guys, he's just so complete. Yeah. And I think Nabers right now hasn't proven that he can be an outside receiver yet. Absolutely think he can. I'm just saying that Marvin Harrison has already proved that he's pretty much got everything, all the tools in the toolkit. And I know that the draft process and everything leading up to the draft really tends to change people's perception. And sometimes we want to believe that a guy might be better than the guy we've always thought was the best one in the class. Yeah. Now people are trying to say Caleb might not be the best. I mean, I haven't seen too much of that because that's preposterous. But, there's definitely some people now chirping, trying to make it dramatic. And I think a little bit of that is going on here too. I love Malik Nabers, and I think that we really can't go wrong. I think the only thing that would really separate the 2 receivers at this point is situation. So which one goes to the better quarterback and offense, and then obviously like off the field stuff. So haven't seen too much from either side on that front. But you never know. I mean, we wanted to draft Zay Flowers last year, and I still think that's the right pick. But like I just mentioned, he had some off-the-field issues that now that's questionable. Now, I still probably would have taken him over Quentin Johnston. But still, I mean, you just never know with these guys. So at the end of the day, we're just gambling here. We're rolling the dice. But I would take Marvin over him. But if we took Malik, I'd feel pretty good because I think I saw a stat that he was Xavier Worthy, right? The guy who just broke the record in the 40-yard dash. Yep. I think I saw that he averaged number 2 highest game speed throughout the college football season. Guess who was number 1? Malik Nabers, yes. And the guy can run his ass off. I mean, he moves like nobody else. And from that regard, I completely agree with Joe Ortiz. I just never seen a guy really move like that. But Marvin Harrison, the way that he's able to play all the positions, not just out of the slot, but also play the X and really be the number 1 receiver. I've noticed that Malik kind of struggles a little bit with the press. So at least early on in the season, until he kind of figures out his release package, we're going to have to be creative with how we use him. So, we can't just line him up on the line of scrimmage. We're going to have to keep him off it, have him in the slot, move him in motion until he kind of gets his footing under him, which I'm sure he will. So this is a beautiful situation to be in because it kind of feels like you can't lose either way. It's just a matter of how you're going to fit those 2 guys in your offense. And I will say this, I don't want to overthink it too much, but being that Marvin Harrison Jr. has been so hyped up, I just do wonder if maybe a little bit of that starts to get in his head. Yeah. And maybe Malik is just playing a little bit looser and with a bit of a chip on his shoulder.
Exactly. Yeah. Dude, we took the words out of each other's mouth right there.
Yeah, so something to think about. Obviously, you can't analyze that kind of stuff. You can't project that kind of stuff. But that's why I've always been kind of like, you look at the analytics, you look at what you see on film, but also football is a game of intangibles. So sometimes you just got to go with your gut as well. And I think especially when it's this close, and Malik might be a better offensive fit for us just because we've been clamoring for speed. But I really just don't think you can go wrong either way.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I like the point that you brought up versus the game speed and then the 40-yard dash. I think everybody knows that by now. I mean, you see John Ross break it, back, I don't know when he broke it in 2017. And it just didn't translate, right? And this is, and I kind of want to bring up Keenan Allen here because same with him.
Yeah. You're in like a 4.7, so yeah.
But the way he moves on the football field is just completely different. Same with Odell Beckham. I think he wasn't even that fast in the 40 time, but dude was running past all the Ravens like his rookie year. Like 40 yards it's a very slim thing to look at and base their whole game.
It's a matter of milliseconds.
Exactly.
Like that's what we're talking about. Yeah, I agree.
But then again, you see Cheetah and all those guys, so definitely track speed right there.
Yeah, I mean that's what sets him apart, right? He really refined his game.
Yeah, he
He has
did.
great route running. He can really go up and get the ball. So seeing Tyreek Hill from year 1 to now it's not the same
Night and
guy,
day.
which is really awesome. So hopefully we get some development like that out of Nabers or Harrison Jr., whichever one we pick. I do want to mention there is a possibility that we trade out of that spot depending on, I think Minnesota is really the X factor at this point, at least. Obviously, they're in play for a quarterback with losing Kirk Cousins to the Atlanta Falcons. And they don't really have a contingency plan in place. I think they have Sam Darnold, right?
Yeah, they say Sam.
And as much as I liked him coming out,
loved this guy.
That was a bit of a miss. That was a bit of a miss for me. But that's okay because I hit on the Patrick Mahomes one.
Yeah.
I think that's the.
Who else?
That's
Trey Lance was your boy. I think Justin Fields wouldn't have been any better. So I guess we chalked that one.
He would have been better. Yes, he would have because he already was better.
That's what I'm saying.
And he already was better. It's just that neither of them panned out.
Yeah.
So I'll give you that.
Okay.
But Trey Lance was more like I was just so blindly faithful in Kyle Shanahan, which I was kind of right because he did just take Mr. Irrelevant to the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
So I don't know, man. But yeah, no, just being funny there. End of the day, though, I think Minnesota tries to trade up.
Yeah.
And if the package is right, I can see an argument for getting both of those first-round picks that they have, currently picking at 11, and they just picked up the 23rd overall pick as well. So if we can snatch both of those and then maybe something else, that would be pretty big for us because we still have a lot of holes on this roster. But Joe Ortiz has been pretty smart about how he's adding guys. I mean, they added what was his name? Bradley Bozeman, I believe, to be a center, kind of like a bridge player. But, shores up that position a little bit, and then just signed Christian Fulton. I want to say that this is off the top of the head. I'm sorry.
I think he just visited. Did we end up signing him?
They signed him to like a 1 year prove it as well.
Cool.
One of those guys who had a great first year, tough second year.
Yeah.
So I think under the right system, you're kind of just betting on upside. It's low risk, high reward kind of thing there. But still have a lot of holes to fill on this roster, both sides of the ball. And, trading back and getting some assets, I think would go a really long way. And to your point, what you said earlier about Keenan, the Keenan trade and us getting a 4th-round pick this year, I think that was interesting because there were reports about us potentially taking a 3rd-rounder from Houston, but that would be in 25. So it seems like the front office is really geared up and attempting to go all in this year again and just kind of retool. So they're really taking that term seriously. They're not rebuilding, they're retooling. So very excited to see that as a fan, and hopefully we can get pretty good pretty quickly here.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think the whole draft situation right now is kind of up in the air, right? You got people screaming Drake May, Caleb Williams. They're even saying Arizona might trade out of that 4 spot. Yeah. So a lot of things are going to happen on draft night, I believe. But to your point, I think Joe Ortiz is adding depth. That's something that we missed with Telesco, right? He wanted all those superstars, those A players, but once they're gone, who do you have? So I kind of like how he's loosening up the draft capital so he can have more to play with. And, just adding these pieces that what you're going to get from them, but at least he's adding that depth so it's easier to draft guys, and it fixes the situation a little bit more.
Yeah, and kind of like what you said, I just want to echo that. In years past, we were so reliant on our stars that when they went down with injuries, it just felt like the season was over. Yeah. And I don't want to feel like that anymore. I want to feel like, the next man up mentality can actually work for this team because it's football and people are going to get hurt. So I think investing a disproportionate amount of your assets into a few star players and really banking on their health in one of the most dangerous sports, I think is not always a smart move. So it sounds like this front office is very aware of that and is trying to build a winner from the ground up, which is very awesome. So, they're bringing in some veterans, they're bringing in some young guys. There's a good mix of everything right now. And being able to retain Khalil Mack, I think was huge for this locker room, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You and me kind of talked about Keenan being the offensive leader, and now he's not in the locker room. So I think we got to look to Justin this year, and he's really got to step up. So, just let me hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I think I totally agree with you. And I think he's also feeling that pressure now. I think he's had conversations with the front office, maybe Jim and stuff, and it's like, hey, this is the route we're going. We need you to step up now. Like, you're not 100%. In your first 2 years. You're already in year 5. You signed a big contract. There's no more, hiding behind the walls. We need to hear your voice, and you need to take on that role as an NFL quarterback. But we talked about it, his interviews and stuff. Like, he likes to play that, like, I like what you said, the presidential kind of role. But we don't need that no more. I think we need to find a balance where his voice is heard and the guys feel it and they know when he steps into that huddle, it's go time,
Yeah, I mean, I still want to see him be presidential, at least at the podium.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the locker room, like, I really want to see that guy galvanize this team.
Definitely.
And, I've heard a lot of things about him and his leadership, and it's unique, but it seems like guys really go to bat for him. And I think we saw that last year with the whole, Las Vegas Raiders situation where Jerry Tillery, who got released, by the way, by Tom Telesco again, he took the little dirty shot on Justin Herbert, and the rest of the team just swarmed him, and Justin jumps out of there skipping away because he just knows that his boys got him. So I do think that he has leadership traits. I just think that he's very invested in not showing too much to the media because it kind of maintains a competitive advantage. It's very Bill Belichick-like, where, he didn't want to give away too much of the game. I think there was like a funny clip a couple years back where they were asking Bill some high-level football questions during one of his press conferences, and he's like, I could mail you the game plan if you want. Like, why don't you just tell them what we're going to do? But, just kind of trying to say that you got to keep things close to the vest sometimes, and you got to be strategic. So I think Justin is just trying to play that role. And I'm okay with that as long as that's media facing. But when it comes to the team, man, I want to see you lock in. I want to see you really like lead these guys from the sideline and really grow in that way. I think that's all he really needs at this point, and everything else should be taken care of. So very excited to see the direction of this football team as we start to take it to the ground and start throwing the ball over the top. I think you're going to see a very vertical, run-heavy offense that still chucks the ball like a ton.
Yep.
So it's not going to be 50 times a game. It's going to be closer to maybe 25 to 30 attempts, but it's going to be efficient, and they're going to get chunk plays whenever they do throw the ball. So I'm very excited to see how this offense looks. It's going to be very old school football mixed with very modern football, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun this year.
Yeah, definitely, man. I kind of still want to talk about Keenan a little bit. What were some of your? I'm gonna ask you, what were some of your favorite moments from Keenan Allen, man? Throw him out there.
Keenan, oh man,
there's a lot.
Well, I would say absolutely the rookie year, the first touchdown that I remember him. I know he scored against the Raiders, but the first one I remembered was actually the Colts.
Yeah.
When he scored that little diving touchdown in the end zone on Monday Night Football, Phil just layered it in there as he does because he's the greatest quarterback to ever play. And then the same year, just seeing him just explode against the Broncos in that Thursday Night Football comeback win, upset that we had when we were fighting for our playoff life, and he jumps over the defenders and bulldozes his way. I mean, who's not going to say that? But that was his rookie year, and I think after that, just so many countless moments. The guy's just a dog. He's so fun to watch. I love seeing him just get in people's mouth. And more recently this year, I think one of my favorite games was the game against the Vikings.
Oh my God.
And you and me were watching that game together, and you're like, dude, he's going for over 200. I was like, no, he's not. He's not doing that. And he does that. And I just shut the hell up, bro, because it was Keenan, even at his advanced stage, just turning it on. And like, I get it. I get why he doesn't want to take the pay cut. He just had a career year.
Yeah.
He really only sat out because Justin got hurt. If not, I'm sure he would have finished the year out fine. And the whole injury prone label, I think, is a little bit overblown. But I'm gonna wish him the best, man. How about you? What were some of your favorite moments?
Man, you kind of stole some, but
I stole them.
Yeah. But those were great moments. Obviously, we got to share that Vikings one. But definitely one that sticks out to me, I think it was that Redskins game. I think it was also his rookie year, I believe. He just I remember the route he did. He did like a stop and go on that corner pylon to the left, and obviously him and Phil had a great connection. That one really stands out to me.
I remember against the Patriots when we got blown out, he scored like the only touchdown. And he was wide ass open dancing in the end zone. I think it was 7-7. We got blown out after that.
Yeah.
But that was cool because I think that was his second playoff game.
Yeah.
Or no, it might have been like he wasn't in too many because we weren't that good. But yeah, that was a fun one. And also I think, I'm a Phillip Rivers fan.
Of course.
And when we played the Ravens that same year, and we shut down Lamar, and Phil scrambled for a little first down. And like just seeing Keenan react to Phil, that was kind of special for me because both of those, I love those guys so much. I mean, Keenan coming out of college, I was so high on him. I mean, I know a lot of people had him low because his 40-yard time, like you mentioned earlier. Yeah. But I was in love with his game. His route running is perfect. It's a lot like yours. And it's just he's a quarterback's best friend. So Keenan's a lot of fun. I want to mention one more. I remember, I can't remember exactly the year, but it was like week 1 against the Chiefs. And this was when Alex Smith was still a quarterback. And he was just cooking up Marcus Peters.
Was it when he tore his ACL?
He got hurt that game, yeah. But he was just cooking Marcus Peters like the whole first half. Yep. And then, he got hurt.
I remember
that was another good one. He was such a joy to watch. And I remember him with Stevie Johnson having the aliens. And they had the hoodies
Eddie
and stuff
Royal
with James
too.
Jones.
Eddie Royal.
Yeah.
I forgot we had Eddie Royal. That was random. But
Eddie Royal was good for 5 touchdowns in 2 games for the first 2 games of the season for like 3 straight years. He was awesome. I miss Eddie Royal too.
I loved him.
But yeah, man. Oh, you know what? I remember the touchdown throw that he threw to Justin Herbert.
Oh, Bengals.
Against the Bengals.
Versus Burrow.
That was a cool one
that
too,
was
man.
Good. Yeah.
And then his interception against the Jets. He had some funny little stats.
He was a safety in high school, I think.
Yeah.
So he had that ball awareness for sure. But definitely, I loved how Keenan from day one though. Malcolm Floyd goes down versus the Eagles, and he just steps up and takes on that role. But I feel like he always knew that was him. No, he just needed to show people and really like get in that role. So I just loved how he embraced that. And then from day one, he never took a step back. Like he just kept building and building on top of that, perfecting his game. Actually, one moment I really liked, Sunday Night Football, Dolphins, when Herbert and him do that point on like 3rd and 7. That was definitely the definition of, Keenan is going to be at his spot and the quarterback just needs to get him the ball. So that was definitely one that I remember forever. And I'm going to miss, those guys going to battle with each other, man. And
yeah, man. He's always going to have a special place in our heart, regardless of how everything ended. I know there's like a little drama, but at the end of the day, man, when you invested so much time in an organization and it's your time to leave, and you guys both kind of know it. It's just hard to let go.
It's tough.
And maybe getting a little personal there too.
Yeah.
But with that being said, man, I know we don't have too much time. You got a flight to catch, so I want to let you go.
Yeah.
But I feel like this was a really great episode, very short, energetic. And until next time, guys, I just want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart. For supporting us. We just started off, but shout out to everybody showing love. We see your guys' comments and all our friends who are being supportive right now. Please continue to spread the word. We want to grow, and we have a lot of big plans, man. I mean, we want to start throwing watch parties when the season comes. We want to meet you guys at the games. We're going to get season tickets. We're going to be there. So hopefully by then we have a little bit of a bigger following. But even if we don't, me and Christian are going to be at it with our Bolt Talk. And until next time, peace out and Bolt up, baby.
Bolt up, baby.